Have you ever had one of those days where you just knew something was off? I got that feeling the second I turned onto the road leading to my secluded cabin. I'd just finished a brutal work project a week early and decided to surprise myself with a little getaway. The plan was simple: solitude, a roaring fire, and maybe a good book. But as I pulled up my long, gravel driveway, my plans for peace and quiet went up in smoke. There were cars parked everywhere. A minivan, an SUV, and a sedan I definitely didn't recognize were scattered across my lawn. My heart started pounding. Was I being robbed? I parked my car out of sight and crept toward the cabin, trying to peek through the windows. The first thing I saw was a crowd of people inside. My people. Not my family, but people inside my house. And they were acting like they owned the place. I could see kids jumping on my antique sofa, a man I'd never seen before channel surfing with my remote, and several adults chatting in my kitchen, helping themselves to my pantry. The smell of someone else's barbecue was wafting from my back deck. I felt a surge of adrenaline mixed with pure, unfiltered rage. Who were these people? I took a deep breath, marched up to my own front door, and threw it open. The chatter inside stopped instantly. Every head turned to stare at me. A woman with a "can I speak to the manager" haircut and way too much jewelry stepped forward, a spatula in her hand. She looked me up and down with disdain. "Can I help you?" she asked, as if I were the one interrupting her. I was so stunned I almost laughed. "Can you help me? I think the question is, can I help you? Who are you, and what are you doing in my house?" Her face twisted into a mask of righteous indignation. "Your house? I think you're mistaken. This is our family's vacation spot." The man from the couch got up and stood beside her, puffing out his chest. "Yeah, buddy," he said, "you've got the wrong address." I pointed to the family photos on my mantelpiece. "Those are my parents. That's my dog, Buster. This is my cabin. I've owned it for 10 years. The woman, who I now mentally dubbed Karen, just scoffed. "Oh, please. Anyone could say that. We rented this place. My sister-in-law handled the booking." It was then that I noticed she was wearing one of my favorite aprons, the one my grandma wore upon for me. That was the last straw. "You rented it from who?" I demanded. "Because I'm the owner, and I certainly didn't rent it to you. You're trespassing." Karen just rolled her eyes and turned to the others. "Don't worry about him. He's probably just some local trying to cause trouble." This was unbelievable. I was being gaslighted in my own home. "I'm not leaving until you do," I said, planting my feet firmly in the doorway. "In fact, I'm calling the police right now." Her eyes widened in theatrical shock, and she clutched her chest. "You're calling the police on us? A family with children?" She then whipped out her own phone. "No, I'm calling the police. There's a strange man here harassing my family." Before I could even dial, she was on the phone, putting on the performance of a lifetime. "Yes, officer. Please hurry. There's a very aggressive man at our rental cabin. He's trying to break in. We're all so scared." I could hear the fake tremor in her voice. The man, her husband I assumed, started herding the kids into a back room like he was the hero in an action movie. I just stood there, my own phone in my hand, completely dumbfounded. She had actually called the cops on me, in my own house. The nerve was astounding. I decided to wait. Let the police come. I had the deed, the mortgage statements, my driver's license with this address on it. I had all the proof I needed. This was going to be an interesting conversation. About 15 minutes later, 2 police cruisers came tearing up my driveway, lights flashing. 2 officers got out, their expressions serious. Karen immediately ran out to meet them, pointing at me dramatically. "That's him, officer. He's the one. He tried to force his way in." The first officer, a tall, calm-looking man, approached me cautiously. "Sir, can you step away from the house for a moment? We need to figure out what's going on here." I complied, holding my hands up to show I wasn't a threat. "Officer," I said, trying to keep my voice even, "this is my house. These people are trespassers." Karen shrieked, "He's lying. We have the rental confirmation." She waved her phone around, showing the officer a very fake-looking email. The officer glanced at it and then back at me. "Ma'am, let's all just take a breath. Sir, do you have any identification or proof of ownership?" "Absolutely," I said. "It's all in my car. My wallet, my deed, my utility bills, everything." The second officer escorted me to my car while the first one tried to calm Karen down, which was like trying to calm a hornet's nest with a stick. I retrieved my folder of documents and handed them over. The officer spent a few minutes looking everything over, cross-referencing my ID with the deed. He walked over to his partner, They had a quiet word, and then they both walked back toward the porch, where Karen was still ranting about her ruined family vacation. The lead officer looked at her sternly. "Ma'am, according to these official documents, this gentleman is the legal owner of this property. You and your family need to leave now." Karen's jaw dropped. It was a glorious sight. "What? That's impossible. The listing was a steal. My sister-in-law is a genius at finding deals." It clicked. "A rental scam." "Ma'am," I said, unable to resist, "where did your sister-in-law find this deal?" She mumbled something about a weird website and a wire transfer. The officer sighed. "You've been the victim of a rental scam, but right now, you are trespassing on private property." Her husband came out, looking deflated. The truth was finally sinking in. But Karen wasn't done. She turned her anger on me. "This is your fault. You should have had better security. This wouldn't have happened if your house wasn't so easy to list online." The officers just shook their heads. Watching them pack up was one of the most satisfying experiences of my life. They stuffed their half-eaten food into bags, grabbed their clothes from my closets, and herded their kids, who were crying about leaving the fun cabin, into their cars. Karen shot me one last venomous glare before peeling out, tearing up my lawn in the process. After they were gone, the silence was beautiful. The officers were kind enough to stay while I checked the house for any damage. Thankfully, besides a giant mess and a missing apron, everything was mostly intact. They took a full report, and I spent the rest of the evening cleaning up the chaos and reclaiming my space. My quiet, solitary vacation was off to a rocky start, but as I finally sat down by the fire, I felt a deep sense of victory. The quiet was more peaceful than ever. Thanks for listening to my crazy story. It just goes to show, you never know what you'll find when you come home. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like button and subscribe for more. I'd love to have you stick around.